My name is Jack Turner, and I've learned something about crowds. One person can make a mistake, but a crowd amplifies it. My land sits just outside Silver Creek, wide open, quiet, the kind of place people don't notice until someone points at it and tells them it's theirs. That's what Karen Whitfield did, but I didn't know that yet. The first sign something was wrong was a noise. Distant at first. Engines, voices, movement where there shouldn't be any. I stepped outside and looked down toward the lower field. Cars, dozens of them, rolling in through the access path, parking across my land like it was a public space. Tents already going up. People unloading gear, setting up like they belonged there. I stood there for a moment, trying to understand what I was looking at, because this wasn't random. This was organized, intentional, planned. I drove down slowly, didn't rush, didn't react, because when something doesn't make sense, you don't jump in, you observe. The closer I got, the clearer it became. Families, groups, coolers, campfires, being prepped, kids running around, and right in the middle of it all, a printed banner. Silver Creek Community Camping Weekend. I almost laughed, because my land wasn't part of Silver Creek, never had been. Karen stood near the center, talking, smiling, directing people, like she had arranged everything, which meant she probably had. I stepped out of the truck, walked to order.com/measured. What is this? I asked. She turned and looked surprised. This is a community event. On my land, it's open space. No, it isn't. She smiled slightly. It's being used that way. That line again, the same logic. Used in every situation and wrong every time. You invited these people here, I said. They're part of the community. They're trespassing. Her expression didn't change. You're overreacting. I looked around. At least 100 people already there. More arriving. This wasn't small. It wasn't something that could be handled with a simple conversation. This was a situation. And situations need structure. I didn't argue, didn't shout, didn't escalate. Because escalation without control backfires. Instead, I stepped back, took out my phone, and started documenting wide shots, close angles, license plates, the banner, Karen directing people, everything. Because once something gets this big, it needs proof. By afternoon, the number had doubled. Hundreds of people, tents covering sections of the field, fires starting, noise rising, and not one of them knew they weren't supposed to be there. That was the part that mattered, because most of them weren't the problem. They had been told something, given permission, just not by the person who had the right to give it. I made the call, county office, then another, 2 local enforcement, because this wasn't just trespassing anymore. It was organized misuse of private land, large scale, uncontrolled, and potentially dangerous. They responded faster than expected, because numbers matter. And when numbers get high enough, things move. Units arrive within an hour, multiple vehicles, officials stepping out, assessing, taking in the scale of what was happening. Karen walked up to them, confident, explaining, framing it as community gathering, temporary, harmless, but explanation doesn't override ownership. One of the officers approached me. Is this your property? That was the moment everything shifted, because now it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was unauthorized use, structured, documented, clear. The officers moved quickly, not aggressive, not chaotic, just controlled. Then realization, because now the truth was out. They hadn't been invited, they had been misled. Karen tried to intervene. The crowd started packing, slow at first, then faster. Because once people realize they're somewhere they shouldn't be, they don't stay. Cars lined up, tents came down, fires were put out, the field started clearing, piece by piece, until the space returned to what it was before. Quiet, open. Karen stood there, watching it happen, realizing because now the situation had moved beyond her control. The report was filed, detailed, comprehensive, documented, because organized misuse of land leads to review, review leads to scrutiny. It was about liability, risk, authority, and where it had been misused. Karen tried to explain, said it had been used before. But assumptions don't hold up against records. Everything aligned. The outcome wasn't complicated. Unauthorized use, liability assigned, costs calculated, and the number was enough to matter, because when you organize something that big, the consequences scale with it. Karen didn't fight it, didn't argue, because she couldn't. The proof was everywhere. She stepped down within weeks. No announcement, no explanation, just gone. The same pattern, different mistake. As for the land, people think they can turn private space into public use, and every time I look out over that field now,